Last Pint Productions presents the New Way podcast with Ben and the other guy. The New Way contains adult content and a high alcohol content, including 8 beers in 2 hours, not enough food, and a bad case of the spins. Last Pint reminds you to listen responsibly. Last Pint Productions, Boynton Beach, Florida. It's in the game.
We found this mouse in a bottle of Elsinore beer that we bought at your beer store, eh? And we heard, like, when that happens, that you get your beer free.
Yeah, we party hard.
Really? I got some beers. Let's drink them, huh?
Blowing at me, one hash head. I got all 5 senses, and I slept last night. That puts me 6 up on the lot of you.
I'm gonna stab your heads off! With what? With what?
With my beer!
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Welcome once again to the New Way podcast with Ben and Matt. I'm Ben.
I am Matt.
And today is the first, you're going to hear an obvious audio difference. And that's not just because Greg is here. Say hi, Greg.
Hello, everybody.
The obvious
Always
audio difference.
look
yes.
at the microphone.
Yes, come on, be a professional here.
Don't just look at it, eat it.
Wow.
Yeah. Gotta keep your focus on, like.
Pretty sure I didn't do anything wrong there. I'm getting
Listen,
attacked.
you were looking over the other way and speaking, and that is unacceptable.
That's untrue.
I want your mouth on the mic at all times.
Anyways, this is our first. This is our first pubcast, or drunk cast, or whatever you want to call it.
It's not our first drunk cast.
No, well, I mean, yeah. I guess that's true. But anyways, of course, if you hear an EA Sports in the background, or if you hear
Sports, it's in the game.
If you hear somebody saying it's in the game, that's not Greg muttering under his breath. But actually, it may at some point.
Yeah.
We just randomly throw that in there. Actually, just be like
that, or just some wow.
Like, oh yeah, I really like that movie. It's in the game. But anyways, so we're actually at the Storied O'Connors, which is where Last Pint Productions was born.
This is true.
This is a very fun event for us.
Iconic and spiritual place for us.
Yes, and we'll talk about, I think, at the very end of the podcast, I kind of wanted to talk about O'Connors just a little bit. But before we do anything, before we actually talk about this week's subject, we would like to go ahead and introduce our guest this week, who is Greg. Now, Greg
has a last name. It's Klein.
Yeah.
So you can look him up on the Facebook and the LinkedIn. And I just assumed Greg Klein was your fake name. No one's really named Greg Klein. I mean, come on now.
Probably right.
Anyway, so Greg, explain what you do.
What I do? Well, a lot.
For work. Let's just kind of pigeonhole it on that.
Probably the reason why I'm here is because I work with Matt. We do our little selling of natural remedies thing online. I do web analytics, which no one listening to this is going to know what it means. So I'm not going to go any further into what that is. But I work on a website.
Greg cooks the books. He's like that guy they're searching for in The Untouchables that holds all the information to take down Al Capone. That's Greg. He's the bookkeeper.
I could not have said it better myself. So that would be the reason why I'm here.
And you're wearing a lovely Chelsea shirt today.
Yes.
Which we were talking about earlier. I was debating about wearing my Chelsea shirt just because I was like, I know that Greg's a big Chelsea fan, and I bought this beautiful Chelsea shirt for the game last year.
Oh, yes.
And then promptly stained it that day.
Lots of mustard or something weird was
Yeah,
on it like
mustard.
that.
Semen,
I knew it was mustard.
mainly semen,
Yeah.
and some special sauce.
But anyways,
Which would have been a way better name for the band, G-Love and Special Sauce, if they were just called Semen and Special Sauce.
No.
I think they would have taken off.
I don't
Dare you.
know. You think they would have taken off? Because they're nobody.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's going to be fun to have Greg. And Greg is a movie aficionado. He likes a lot of movies. Like, what's your favorite movie, Greg?
Wow, what's my favorite movie? I'm not sure I was even prepared for that.
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
shooting off the cuff here.
Right, so my obligatory answer to that question usually is The Big Lebowski. I hate saying that because it's so overused and people I don't like love it.
Yeah.
Matt knows who I'm talking about.
Don't like love it.
That's someone that we worked with was like oddly a huge Big Lebowski fan.
Which makes me want to not say that answer even more.
Well, I'll zero in on something else, which is a question I was going to ask you. Instead of your favorite movie of all time, what is the hardest you have laughed in a theater at a movie?
In the theater, wow.
Yeah, we talked about that last week,
Okay.
and I think we both agreed that South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut was probably, I think, would take the cake for both Matt and myself.
Okay. Well, the first one that comes to mind is Hangover.
Okay, interesting.
No, I actually think that's a pretty good answer because even though that it became way too saturated.
Right.
When that movie first came out, it was pretty.
Plus, the end, you got to be talking mainly about the end credit sequence.
Oh, of course.
Like,
that's the best part of all the Hangovers.
Yeah.
The end credit. I mean, and now especially because they're all horrible after the first one. The only good part of the new ones are the end credits with the pictures in it. But that being said,
well,
that movie changed my life. I think a little bit seeing that in the theater, and then it's promptly ruined after they tried to redo it 2 times in a row. And now that's even hard to talk about. Loving The Hangover seems weird.
Well, that's how I felt about the first American Pie. Actually, I really loved the first American Pie, but I was in college.
Now you're gay for saying that.
Yeah, no, it was just I was in college, and there were like all of these 19-year-old female freshmen. They were like, "Oh my god, The American Pie is like the most brilliant film I've ever watched. Like it just spoke so. It is like so brilliantly comedic." I'm like, no, you're ruining this.
For a disclaimer, let me please say that Matt has had that experience because he went to the University of Florida.
This is true.
Unfortunate.
And that's the way that people are around there. Because
because there are no dumb girls at FSU. I've been to the late night library. I've seen your version. They're just hotter.
I wasn't talking about FSU. I was actually talking about because when I saw that movie, I saw it in Tennessee. I was still in high school when that came out. So
after you're done milking the cows and getting sup ready,
drinking some soda pop.
Well, actually, Greg and I bonded when we were first working together. Greg had started. They sat him like across the office from the department that he was actually working for, and then we had this kind of migration to another area of the office, and in between, Greg and I were sat right next to each other for 2 weeks.
Right.
And I would make like these, like I would say these things like, oh but you can, oh but you will, like these weird little movie references. And Greg would be like, Batman Returns, nice. I'm like, no, you don't know. So I started testing. He's like, I know more about movies than you probably think I do.
My exact words were at that time, we're going to have to do battles sometime soon, aren't we?
And we did, we actually did. And it was.
I lost.
Greg is also famous at his work for smashing shit.
Yes, if you go to YouTube and look up Mr. Greg Smash, all one word, you'll see some of Greg's best work to date.
Wow, can't wait for it to be flooded with...
Yes.
Oh yes, our audience of 4 is going to double our audience of 2
yes.
on Mr. Greg Smash.
I think we have a total of about 10 to 15 videos on MrGregSmash.com. Probably less views than actual videos.
Probably. You know who's like probably our number one listener is Glenn, who is the aforementioned Big Lebowski fan. I have a feeling he like listens to this stuff and he's just like
plotting, scheming.
Never left.
You might be in the bathroom right now doing weird stuff.
With a cat.
Anyways, one of the things that one of the reasons why we're actually here as well, and we're drinking, of course. And so if you hear somebody ordering a beer or
just a random person coming up and be like, hey,
what are you doing?
What is this thing? What is that?
That could happen.
We don't have our headphones on right now, so I'm sure Matt hitting the mic right there was probably just like the
You
loudest
thought that
thing.
the last time, but actually the mic is pretty good at like tempering things down.
It's got a pea, popper, whatever, cover thingy. I don't know the technical terms here, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know if that did anything.
But yeah, since we are the O'Connors and we're drinking and having fun, we figured this week's topic of conversation, which would be a lot of fun, is actually talking about the role of alcohol in movies and what it has played over the course of the years, and essentially, I mean, because obviously I'm a big drinker. If you haven't established that yet, in this, you probably have missed out on something.
Actually, all 3. I mean, we could really at another time, maybe when we do a second one of these, we should actually do a contest. Because you're listening actually to 3 of the biggest drinkers I know. Like we need to just have Greg's woman and Ben's woman be on hand, like EMTs, to drive you guys home and just do it at the house and see how shitty all of a sudden get. Ben will just not talk. He won't be able to just put words together.
I just go into the zone where I'm like, I'm asleep.
Wait, did you come first?
Sorry, Mom.
Please don't talk about. Yeah, that's the funniest thing. Please don't talk about my sex life. Like
no, I know. Speaking of that, I was thinking about this driving to Matt's house today. I was like, who's going to be listening to this that I maybe care about listening to it? So should I maybe change? Then I was like, fuck all that noise. I'm just going to...
Yeah, exactly.
If Jocelyn, who is my fiance, happens to listen to it, she knows who I am. She knows I'm a degenerate retard. And it's not going to be anything new. If it's something like
spoken like a true wordsmith.
Yes. Very much. But I've heard Matt say before that his mom listens to this podcast. If my mom was listening to this right now, I don't think I could even be on it in the first place.
I've actually had to just put it out of my the first podcast when Ben asked me the infamous was the first celebrity you masturbated to.
Great question, by the way.
You can't. I don't know if you can hear it on air, but my entire face just went dead. You fucking kidding me? Really? I prepared all of these questions for Ben of well, who are your inspirations from cinematographers? And what do you feel is the most overrated independent film of all time? And Ben's like, who'd you fucking rub one out to the first time? And I know my mom's going to be listening to the first one, so she's just now accepted it. She's like, well, I didn't care for that Tom Hanks stuff. And I'm like, but you like Tom Hanks. I learned it from watching you.
It's hereditary.
Just stop, please. Please,
that's what I mean.
Stop it right there. It's getting bad. I think she stopped listening, so I'm probably okay, but...
Mom, don't listen to this.
Sorry, Mom. I apologize.
No, I don't think my mom has listened to a podcast yet.
Good for you.
I think it's because she probably doesn't realize they exist.
Right. Keep it like that.
Yeah.
Well, my mom likes the Facebook, so, yeah.
Anyways, so we are, we're all part of that drinking culture. We're big drinkers, and so... it's really funny because one thing that when we had this idea, and of course we're Last Pint Productions, obviously our fucking name is kind of off of essentially what happened here at O'Connor's, which we'll get into it later. But we're big into the drinking culture, so.
Oh.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's in the game.
That's okay.
Yes.
So anyways, we call back. One of the things that I don't know if you've ever had this, Matt. I'm assuming you have.
Premature ejaculation? Yes.
We're already going together here. I'm trying to keep on topic here. So
that's actually what's kind of fun about this. Is that Ben always tries to direct the podcast.
I listen to the podcast,
and I kind of thought today it would be fun to, as many times as possible, derail Ben's motive.
It's gonna be the funny thing is, once I have a couple more beers in me, it's not even going to matter. I'm just going to be like, go wherever you want.
The next topic we're going to talk about is Georgia Bulldogs.
Yes. The U.S. national soccer team.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're part of the whole drinking culture, and so, like I said, one of the things I thought about when we were talking about doing this podcast, because we came up with the idea very early, was that movies that drinking is a part of the culture in the movie, but the thing that made me think about a bunch of movies is there are movies where I've been at home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm watching it, and I'm like, fuck, this movie makes me want to drink. All I want to do is pour a scotch or drink a giant beer or that sort of thing. And it's always this movies I'm like, man, I really need a beer or something like that, just because what you're watching is whether it's counterculture or whether it's actually supposed to be funny or whatever. I always think it's funny. There are movies where I'm the type of functional pseudo-alcoholic where I'm like, man, I really need a drink right now.
Yeah. That's how I feel. The first time I watched Mad Men was at my brother's, and he warned me. He's like, I have a crap ton of scotch and cigarettes on hand because you're going to want to go through all of them by the time you're done with it. That's one side.
Mad Men was one of the things that you really do just want to drink. And like my wife, for example, she is not a big drinker, but she loves bourbon. And I still remember like when we first started watching Mad Men. She was like, all I really want to do is like drink a bourbon and smoke a cigarette right now.
That's what I'm saying. Anyone who says that you can have fun without drinking is full of shit. Drinking makes everything way more fun, and that's all there is to it. You can't argue with it. And if you can, maybe you have a problem.
Well, and that's the second side of it. So you've got the ones that make you want to drink. And then everyone has gone to a movie or watched a movie and been like, man, if I'd been wasted,
right, that
would be like the greatest time I had at the movie.
So here's a good question I have for you guys on this topic. When a movie comes to mind, and just like you said, this movie would be so awesome if I was high, if I was drunk. Does that make the movie lesser, or you know what I'm saying?
I've actually got a really funny comment to say on this. The first time I ever watched what I consider the funniest movie of all time, which we were talking about earlier, which is Wet Hot American Summer. The first time I ever saw that movie, I was drunk, and it was a bad viewing experience. I just didn't. That was a movie that needed to be watched sober. I realized after time that the humor in that it's this fine line between gutter and highbrow. It's like they go to this completely different place. That watching
so you need your faculties to appreciate.
Right, exactly. Like I needed to be like on sort of my tiptoes, to really understand, comprehend a lot of the stuff. Which is funny because a lot of these movies they're like highbrow humor, like a lot of Coen Brothers stuff, like the dark humor and that sort of thing. I feel like one of the movies I saw in the theater, which I was kind of drunk when I saw it, and it was a movie that honestly makes me want to drink every time I see it, is The Ice Harvest.
That's a good flick, actually.
Harold Ramis directed it, and John Cusack, Billy Bob
Oliver
Thornton.
Platt, who's just messed up
he's drunk the entire movie. And it's a pretty highbrow dark comedy to me. But I think that drinking during that movie just makes that movie that much better.
Right.
Whereas a movie like Wet Hot American Summer,
after you've already seen it sober and appreciate it for what it was.
Exactly what I was thinking of right there. Because that's like Big Lebowski. Big Lebowski, no one loves the Big Lebowski the first time they see it.
Oh my God.
Everyone's gone through this. They've given the Big Lebowski to someone that hasn't seen it. And like, you've got to watch this movie. It's one of the funniest movies ever made. And the person comes back and they're like, I don't know, but that person always winds up watching it again with other people and sharing it. And then one of those times they're usually messed up, and it comes full circle. You appreciate it, you accept it, then you watch it when you're messed up, and you're like, yeah, you watch The Big Lebowski while you're smoking a joint or having several White Russians, and it's a new experience. Now
I
you're
have that
in the movie.
Exact experience with Big Lebowski. My brother introduced it to me when we were in college. He was going to UF, and I was just up there fucking off, basically. I was going to community college. Another story. But he introduced Big Lebowski to me. We came back to his house after a late night of going bar hopping. I'm hammered. You have to watch this movie. This is the greatest movie of all time. He said, you're going to love it. So we popped the movie in. We start watching it, and I'm way too drunk to appreciate or realize what I'm watching. I thought it was retarded the first time I saw it. I was like, I don't know why you like that.
Same sort of thing, with me and Wet Hot American Summer.
Exactly. But next day, he's like, all right, you were hammered last night, but here, take this home with you, watch it over again. And he gave it to me, and I watched it the next day, hungover as hell, but sober, and then it became my favorite movie of all time.
Which the Big Lebowski is kind of a fun one to talk about because that is sort of the drinking culture movie. I mean, he always has a White Russian in his.
What makes you want to drink a White Russian more than watching that freaking movie?
Well, and this is
that's me every day.
Matt made fun of me for ordering. I ordered a White Russian.
He ordered one at the Lion and Eagle.
Wow, yeah.
They had, first of all, the British haven't heard of cream in the way that they're using the White Russian.
American white girl. I wasn't ordering from Simon.
An American white
cream
girl.
is a different thing. They're like, I'm going to need a few minutes.
I couldn't believe the laughter I got from my order.
It was funny for a couple reasons. One, you are a professional drinker, so I hold you to different standards than other people.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Like if I ask Ben to come and fix up my bathroom in my house, I recognize it's not going to be the best job.
Right.
When I ask him to shoot a movie, I expect professionalism. You are the same way with drinking. When I go out drinking with you...
I didn't order a fucking Cosmo, though. Like,
no, but it was just, you were like, I can't have a beer because I'm so full. I had this big taco at lunch, and it's like just sitting so heavy in my tummy right now. And I can't have a beer right now.
That's exactly how I feel.
And it's exactly... Well, you want me to do the Beetlejuice impersonation? Because I can't do that one either.
No, please don't.
We'll bring that up at the end of the podcast, by the way. But don't let me... I'm going to write that one down.
Nice.
But no, it was just kind of funny. And it was funny where we were at. And... Because normally you just go for a Jameson. That's fine. That makes sense in an English pub. But when was the last time someone ordered a White Russian at an English pub? And to take my argument home, what was her reaction to you ordering that?
I will argue with that because I feel like you made her react like that by hysterically laughing at the first word that
Did any of them come out proper?
No,
that's right. Because she's never made one before, and she doesn't know what the hell you're talking about.
You're right.
She got her iPhone and looked it up.
Yeah.
No, but you brought up an interesting point before. So we've established there are movies that you need to watch. I need to do another one as well. Okay. Greg and I'll keep this one going.
Beer run.
Summer Ale.
Another round? Yeah, half and half. Thanks.
I got Summer Ale, 2 please.
We're ordering beverages of an adult nature.
I was just yelling Summer Ale, please. Summer Ale, please. Greg brought up a good point, which is that so they're the ones that are heady that you need to accept first, and then you can enjoy them drinking. There are other movies that are, and you're right, because you kind of say, does that make it a lesser movie? Yes, I'll bring up one of the ones I put on my list. And we're going to try not to make this too list heavy, but I kind of had us all prepare kind of an idea of movies to talk about today. One of the ones that I have is a movie called Your Highness. With Seth Rogen, I'm sorry, not Seth Rogen, it's not it.
Might as well.
Danny McBride and James Franco and Natalie Portman's ass. And it's one of those movies that I wasn't expecting much, and Franco will shit on it every chance he has. He thinks it's like the worst movie he's ever been involved with, other than Red Tails. And that boxing movie
which is strangely enough, it's directed by one of my strangely enough, kind of favorite directors, David Gordon Green.
Yeah, how did that movie fail so badly?
Well, David Gordon Green went on
pieces were in place.
On a spree of 3 movies that just sucked ass. Yeah. So
they're not. Fuck you for saying that they sucked ass. They're different. David Gordon Green directed some really, really heady and interesting independent films. And then he got involved with the Franco-Rogan gang, and they did Pineapple Express,
amazing.
And they did Your Highness, and they did...
The Sitter.
Oh, God, did he direct The Sitter? That is an awful fucking movie.
Yeah,
I thought there was another one in there as well.
There is another one in there.
What's the other one?
I forgot what the other one is.
But David Gordon Green was kind of like one of these like indie favorites that went on and just kind of did mainstream stuff because he thinks it's funny. And listen, I'll argue with you. Pineapple Express is a fucking funny movie. And if you're including that,
I wasn't including
all
it.
right.
No, I was saying after that. When you did Your Highness, The Sitter, and there was one other movie that you
But
did.
Your Highness is not a shitty movie. And I will argue that. I saw Your Highness at the Lake Worth Drive-In. And I wasn't actually like drunk. We had beers, but like we were doing a double feature. So it was the second we watched Hannah, that like really like interesting.
I don't even know what that means.
It's did Basan produce that or
I'm not sure actually. I know that the guy who directed it was the guy who directed. It wasn't John Hillcoat. It was shit. It's escaping me right now.
M. Night Shyamalan.
No. It's a movie that's like it's Eric Bana, Kate Blanchett, this chick Saori Ramadan. But it's like a really arty action foreign flick. You know,
it's really good,
and it's a great flick. And then we had Your Highness on afterwards, mainly because one of my good friends, Bridget, is a huge James Franco fan. She wanted to see it, and the guys in the group were like, "Yeah, this looks like it's funny." So I'm like, I was not expecting anything from it. I'm like, I've read the reviews. It sounds like people are not super happy with it. And I was watching. I'm like, I kept laughing, like despite myself in several scenes. And where I came to be with it was like we finished the movie, and I'm like, it's not amazing. I actually enjoyed myself sober, but I guarantee if I was with my buddies right now and we were all drunk as fuck, we would laugh our asses off in this movie. Like we would it would elevate everything that's going on to a ridiculous level. And it could be said for almost anything Danny McBride is in, actually. But
probably right.
But it definitely falls in that category of not a great movie on its own, but really amazing when you're drunk.
Right.
In the same vein of stuff like Harold and Kumar, which
perfect example.
Harold and Kumar is not high art. It's not the funniest movie ever. But what I will argue with all of those is that there's always an underlying degree of humor that's acceptable when you're sober. Like Harold and Kumar is ridiculous, and it's better when you're drunk. But you watch Harold and Kumar sober, Harold and Sobar. You watch that, and it's like, and there are redeeming qualities. Anything with Neil Patrick Harris in it is just fucking gold.
Stop it.
So like
I mean, right now.
Yeah. There's never anything. There's never 100% from beginning to end awful. You can't take an awful movie unless it's like a B movie from the 80s or whatever and make it gold just because you're drunk.
One of the movies that, to me, is one of those movies that I enjoy a lot, where I recognize that it's not a great movie thematically. I realize that it's got a very strange pacing, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And it was a bomb of a movie, but I love watching. Like, it's one of those movies that you get home at 2 o'clock in the morning after you've been out with your friends, and you turn on Tenacious D and pick a desk. I love Tenacious D. I love the band Tenacious D. I love Jack Black and Kyle Gass. But that was a movie that I saw with Timmy, a little drunk, and ever since then, it's like it's one of those late night movies. And there's really funny, actually, another type of movie that we can talk about, and we might just want to get into it briefly here, is the type of movie that shouldn't be a movie that you like to watch when you're drunk, but it becomes a movie that you just turn on when you're drunk.
Like Doubt, the movie about the nun, and I'm just fucking with you. I tried to pick the most random movie I could think of, and you're like, man, and when I'm drunk, Philip Seymour Hoffman as that rapist priest is fucking funny.
There was a movie.
You started nodding.
I'm only nodding because I'm nodding because there was a movie that has no business being a movie I should have watched 20 times when I was drunk, but I have. I've seen the movie 30 times.
That's a good one,
I've
too.
seen this movie 30 times and could probably quote it verbatim from the very beginning to the very end, and I've watched it probably 25 of those 30 times drunk. And the movie is Brick.
Brick is a fucking awesome movie. Don't include that in this.
No, it's an awesome movie. But for some reason, I went through this period of time.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt and
it's Ryan Johnson.
And Ryan Johnson, guy that Looper. It was their first movie.
It was his first movie. Gotcha. And for some reason, I went through this period of time for like a year. When I got home and I was really hammered, I put on Brick, and I would watch Brick from beginning to end.
What vice were you trying to satisfy by putting that?
That's exactly what I was just going to ask. Were you all right?
Here's the thing. Brick is inspired by these 40s and 50s film noir. I mean, it's got a lot of references to the Maltese Falcon, which is Vulcan.
The Maltese Vulcan.
The Maltese Falcon, which is a Humphrey Bogart 50s noir. Exactly. Which is it's essentially based on these drinking films, but there's no drinking actually happening in the movie.
So like Prohibition era drinking films.
Right. But it's really interesting because for some reason that just I loved the way that movie talked to me when I was drunk. Where it's like, oh man, I want to put on something where I'm just like, oh man, this is blowing my mind. Like Brick always blew my mind when I was drunk.
I have a personal question to ask you regarding the frame of mind you were in, because Greg kind of picked up on the first thing I picked up on, which was This is back in the late 2000s, before you met Beth, correct?
Right.
All right. So your single days.
That was my single days.
Post-engaged, pre-new engaged.
Pre-new engaged, yeah.
So, ostensibly, we're talking about the fact that you came out to some place like O'Connor's, where we're at right now, which is a block from where Ben used to live. And you came out getting drunk, maybe not with your goal to get laid, but always in the back of your head, like, I'm going out tonight, maybe I'll get some strange. And then you found yourself back at home without pussy, and you were like...
I was satisfied by
Brick.
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is.
I like this.
Real shit.
I think
this is a very special edition of the New Way podcast with Ben and Matt.
Take your shirts off. We're taking ours off.
You can't handle all this.
That is actually the best way that you can absolutely put it, is that I felt... I would watch, and the thing is it wasn't one of those movies I would fall asleep to. I've had those movies where I would come home drunk and I would put on like Van Wilder. Van Wilder is a great drunk movie.
That's on my list.
Awesome drunk movie.
Mine too, actually.
And I would put that on, but I would fall asleep about 15 minutes into Van Wilder. Anytime I got home at 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I put on Brick, I would watch it from beginning to end. I would never fall asleep with it. So it's kind of passive.
Did you ever masturbate during...
Wow.
No.
Never? Not once?
I might have paused.
Wow.
And then masturbated. And then
That counts. I don't know how that doesn't count in your head, but yes, that counts. And if you were like...
I wasn't masturbating to the movie.
No, but I
It was
like...
background.
I like the idea that you were like, I couldn't get laid tonight. I'm going to go home and satiate with Brick. But still kind of horny. So I'm going to rub one out and get that out of the way so that I can concentrate on the phenomenal third act of Brick.
And then you wake up the next day and you feel like a goddamn man.
Yes. I would always feel like a man the next day after watching Brick.
Ben, actually, anytime he masturbated after pausing Brick, he would actually do it on an actual brick.
The funny thing is
yes.
one of the characteristics of the movie Brick is very snappy dialogue. It's very...
Does that get you excited?
No. Well, here's the point I was going to make. It's very snappy, almost overly scripted dialogue. Like, there are certain movies that you'll see, like a lot of Kevin Smith films, like especially Clerks, or other films. Even I was watching Before Sunrise last night, and the Before Sunset, and I'm assuming Before Midnight, which I'm hoping to see very soon, both had a lot more the formula of the conversation. And when you're talking about a movie that's all based off of conversation, like Clerks, it didn't feel as scripted. Before Sunrise is really scripted. Like, you can tell these guys were trying to find their voice and trying to find a way to write that worked well. But for some reason, when I'm drunk, I kind of like the movies that almost, like, I love Woody Allen movies. I like it when the dialogue is so overt and over the top, like, you know the next comment that's coming, you know the next joke that's coming, or all you're expecting is, like, Brick it almost sounds like a foreign language sometimes. He's like, I can't trust you. Brad's
super
snitch.
stylized,
You're a snitch.
yeah.
You're blah blah blah. And like, this very super stylized dialogue that doesn't have any place in real life. I like that when I'm drunk.
Gilmore Girls.
Yes, actually, very much. No, and that kind of makes sense. You're a very strong dialogue writer, so that when you're messed up, you kind of want to go on that, like, autopilot, and say, like, I want to see a natural.
See, that's what I'm thinking. Is when you are in a heightened state, let's call it, aka drunk, high, whatever your vice of choice is, you tend to gravitate towards things that you would like to create if you could be doing that.
That's a really, because the thing is, it's
an awesome point.
That's a great point. But the thing is a lot of the times, like, if I watch those movies, especially like we'll talk about Brick for a second more. I think the dialogue is stilted in that movie because they're trying to do a noir. They're trying to do a 1950s movie in the modern context. So the script sounds very. Some of the lines are very forced, and it sounds kind of weird. I don't aspire to write that type of dialogue. I aspire to write the type of dialogue that feels very natural. And
So
that
you're
feels
saying
very
you
back
could write
and forth.
Brick better. That's what you're saying right now.
So basically, I'm saying I wasn't going on the journey to say that
That's what I heard.
I watch it to write better. So I say,
Doesn't inspire your writing, though.
I do better than this. But yeah, I don't watch it because it didn't inspire me that way. But for some reason, I like that on the nose sort of mentality when I'm drunk.
I like one of the things I will say that I absolutely love about this podcast. First of all, you're bringing good shit to this, and I like that as well.
That was directed towards Greg.
Yes, that was directed towards Greg. I apologize. So it's not identifying. Greg Klein, you're a genius.
It wasn't directed towards me. I'm just saying it's like, Ben, you're funny.
Ben, you're here like you normally are,
Yes.
and that's okay.
You guys can suck each other off any other day of the week.
No, I'm just fascinated. Never once in a million years would I expected that we would spend 10 minutes talking about Brick in our pubcast about drinking
Seriously,
movies.
can we stop talking about
Yes,
it?
absolutely. Right. So we're going to turn to Greg. We're
Greg's
gonna,
like, I haven't seen this movie, but
I haven't. That's the
it's
whole
like
thing.
good
drunk
fucking
when he
flick.
leaves
That's
here,
okay.
and you should go home and watch Brick.
I know. And I feel like I have some of that for you guys, too.
Does your woman like Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
She's a woman.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
true.
that means yes.
And she got that and Little, the chick from Lost, the Australian chick,
she's
Emily
in it?
DeRavin. Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
she's the femme fatale.
All right, well.
But she doesn't be like, Charlie! And she doesn't do any of that awful stuff from fucking Lost, where she's just like, whatever. Alright, so Greg, we're going to put you on the spot.
Yes,
Let's
please.
hear, kind of off of your list, some of your favorite movies to be drunk to or to drink to.
Right. So when you first told me about the subject matter that this podcast was going to handle, what movies you like when you're drunk, drinking, that's a little harder for me to do than it is other
Because
vices.
you're always drunk.
True, maybe true, but my mind immediately went to movies that I like when I'm high.
Okay.
There was a big time in my life where I was a very big pot smoker. Some might call it being a pothead.
Wow.
I don't like that connotation. I think it's negative.
Matt was talking about some of your early Facebook photos of you from your youth.
Yes.
Where you were this skater kid.
Greg was a skater kid
I
with
was.
floppy hair
Yep.
and an earring.
That's right.
Yeah.
I had 2 big earrings.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, I had gauges in my hair. Quick background on me. I grew up as a very well-adjusted, middle-upper-class family, was completely in love with sports, did nothing but sports for the first 15 years of my life. When I was 15, I discovered 2 things: girls and drugs. The main drug being marijuana, which completely changed my entire path of my life. So I spent from the time I was 16...
For better or for worse.
That's still yet to be determined. I feel like.
I'd actually like to do like a study at some point on how everyone winds up at Native Remedies, because I guarantee the stories are a series of failures.
Why does it have to be failure?
All right, a series of learning experiences.
Yes.
I just did
It's a
an air
stepping stone,
quotations.
perhaps. Even.
But
Right. So, from the time I was 15 to the time I was about 25 years old, I was very heavy into smoking weed and doing some illicit drugs. So that kind of really formed the list of movies that I wanted to talk about today. I was definitely drinking during this time as well. I only drink now. I don't do any drugs. I don't smoke weed anymore. I only drink now.
This is a great time to care moment right here. Like, kids, don't do drugs. Drink as much as you can.
extensively.
But don't.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Yeah.
The greatest sketch on The More You Know things ever was on the old Conan O'Brien show with Max Weinberg, and it was a Max Weinberg Time to Care that was just like, hey, Missy, condoms break, deal with it. And it's just like, bum, 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 bum. The more you know.
Yeah. You could insert
Sorry,
that into
I had to insert that
some
one
of
in
the
there.
best, the best times ever. No, but basically, I have a list of weed smoking movies. Basically, they can be swapped with drinking. It probably works just as well. But so my college years were probably my most heavily, pot-headed years. So first thing on my list that I had was immediately Half-Baked.
Yes.
It was the first thing I thought of. It was one of the first movies I ever owned. I actually had the VHS tape of Half-Baked. my brother worked at Blockbuster in Gainesville.
So did I.
Nah,
not in Gainesville, Gainesville, but
yeah. And he could basically get any tape that we wanted at the time, so I wanted that. He got it for me. I still own the VHS.
Nice.
And I probably watched that more than any other movie in the first 2 years that I was in college. And it was never not high. It was all based, obviously the movie's based around smoking weed, and we, as me and my friends, partook in smoking while watching it. And I don't think I've ever seen that movie sober, to be honest with you. I don't know if you guys
in
have.
that movie, like, what is your? I'm not a big weed smoker, so I had literally like I can count on one hand the times I smoked weed.
Wow, didn't know that.
But I actually like the movie. I think it's very, very funny. What character do you like? What's your favorite character in that movie?
Well, it's Chappelle is my favorite character.
Interesting. I would have pegged you for Brewer.
But it's funny you say that because some of my friends in high school and college, they used to call me Brewer. That was literally that's the connotation that I got, being the fucking cool, stoner dude, like skater bro type of thing that I would put on a little bit.
Bro dude.
Which I guess comes across in some of the things I say sometimes, but maybe not so much anymore. But yeah, you're I might have been identified as the Brewer character more from an outside perspective, but the character that I identified most with was Chappelle.
Well, the funny thing about weed smoking movies, and they serve a good place. Like I was one of those kids that wanted to kind of become a pothead when I was like 17 or 18.
You didn't succeed?
And I did, and I smoked a lot of weed, and it took me almost a year to realize that weed and I don't cooperate.
Right.
Like because some people they smoke weed, and more power to them. I mean, it's going to be legalized soon,
right?
For recreational use. Yeah, absolutely, it should be. But some people just do it and they can function on an everyday basis. I'm the type of guy where if I smoked weed, like good weed, I would just be done. I would turn into a zombie.
Right.
And so, beyond watching like the Monkees movie Head and laughing my ass off for an hour and a half, there was nothing I could do. I could never function.
Right.
And I was watching these like highly functional people. I mean, these super intelligent people with like 4.0 grade averages who would smoke weed every day. I'm like, I just can't do that. So that was actually, I think it was my freshman year of college where I realized I had to make that. I was like, I can't smoke weed and do anything. However, I could drink a lot and talk about things that I enjoy with people and whatever, and beat the hangover, and I could still be okay.
And it's funny you say that because that's exactly why I stopped smoking weed. Because there was a certain point in my life, I think it was 26, 27 years old, where I had to make a choice. Was I going to continue doing what I was doing, smoking weed every day, just hanging out, kind of not being very, passionate about anything? Because weed did affect me in a negative way. I still have this grand romance with it. I still love it, the idea of it, but I don't smoke anymore because it affected me negatively. So I made a choice to stop doing that, and now drinking is my only vice. And like you said, I'm a very functional drinker. I can be at work drinking. No one. Should I not say that?
No, that's totally true. That is, and I told that to Ben actually before you were coming over, because Ben doesn't really know you socially as much as I do. But I was like, Ben, Greg is a professional. Like, Greg can tie on way more than I could on like a long Friday lunch and come back to work and be totally functional. More than I can. I can even do.
I feel like I could. I've never been in that position where I've been like. Well, actually, that's not true. This is a quick anecdotal story. Like nowadays, I feel like I could probably. I never do this, but I could probably get drunk, and if I had to do something for work, I would be able to function and do it very well. And
look at you, you're working right now.
But
you're doing a goddamn good job too. Go ahead, sorry.
You look amazing.
You really do.
Back when I worked in healthcare and when I worked at JFK Medical Center, there were times when I would be on call and I'd be out at like Benny's Ice House or something like that, and it would be 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've been drinking all night, and I would get a call from somebody being like, or I'd have my beeper go off, and they'd be like, "Oh, yeah." Like I'd essentially get called in, and I think it wasn't so much that I couldn't function, but it was so much that I didn't want to have to function.
Yeah, the motivation.
And I was just like, fucking figure it out yourself. Like, I'm the boss.
Oh, you're having a heart attack. Big fucking deal. Just get it done.
There were plenty of times where
defibrillators out.
I still remember one time on the 4th of July, I got called because I was on call, and they beat me, and they were like, yeah, they're like 17 patients deep in the ER. We don't have anybody on staff. And I was like, I was drunk. I was like, figure it out. I'm not coming in.
It's not going to work out.
It's like do it or just let it turn into a mass hysteria there. I mean, I did not function at that point in my life, and I was 23 years old. I didn't function in that way of being like, okay, I'm a fixer, because that's what I do now. I want to fix things.
Right.
I want to make sure everything's good. So
as a male species, that's what we want to do: is fix things in general.
Fix things and impregnate women.
Right.
And build things.
And
Spread
build
your
things.
seeds.
Yes.
Build tall things.
Make new ones of us.
Yes.
Are there any other high movies that you...
Yeah.
Dude, literally, I have
I'm dying to know if you have
list
one
them
movie. And I have a
we're gonna list
feeling
them
I
off.
have a movie that I've got that neither of you have.
Okay.
And it's mainly... And we always joke about this, because Ben's really only like 4 years younger than me, but he's the same age as Greg. And that...
Wait, how old are you?
34?
With a question mark at the end?
No, I was just saying like 34. You
And
don't
Greg
know
and I
that?
graduated from FSU in the same year, which we didn't realize until earlier this morning.
Right. I was a little... I should have graduated a year earlier, but I was a little...
You guys both turned 30 within the last...
I'm 31.
Oh, you're 31.
You're
So
30.
you're a little closer to me. Greg is. But there are certain movies from the very early 80s that I was involved with. There's one in particular that was number one on my list of drinking movies, both because it's about drinking and because it's better when you're drunk. That I don't think either of you have.
No.
I want to hear Greg's list
I have
first.
no movies from the 80s, so you can
right.
cross me off that list. But here's my high movies, just in list form, in no particular order. Friday, the first one.
Right?
That's a good choice. God damn, I
Okay.
would never thought of that.
Airheads.
Oh, yeah.
God damn, that's an even better choice than
Okay.
Friday.
Fucking
Love
cast of that
Airheads.
movie. We can just go down a list of who's
What are you thinking about? Swimming pools.
Kramer is in the fucking movie, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Kramer playing the weird HR person of the radio
Crawling
station.
through
Yes, the air ducts.
The air ducts. Half-Baked we already talked about. Knocked Up.
Okay, yeah.
Probably one of my most recent favorite high movies ever. There's probably a bong in 95% of the scenes in that movie. Either being smoked or just in the scene. Inexplicably. Probably not on accident. Or maybe it was. Grandma's Boy.
Oh, great. A great choice. A great choice.
One of the other movies that I own, I own a very few amount of movies. I own Grandma's Boy. As we talked about, I own Big Lebowski. That's one that I will watch over and over again forever, for all time. Scary Movie.
God damn it, I fucking love that you put... I am one of the only people I know that considers the first Scary Movie to be one of the best parodies ever put on film.
Thank you.
And they got turned into such shit in every iteration. The second one was bad.
Think about the cast that was in the first one.
The first Scary Movie. First of all, you've got one with a, and I will tie this to one of my drinking movies, which is weird. So there's a guy and I know the actor's name, and that's weird that I know it because no one else does. He's in the first Scary Movie. His name is Lachlan Monroe. Lachlan Monroe played kind of in Scary Movie. He played the Ryan Philippe character from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Right, okay.
But Lachlan Monroe's most famous role is in a little-known movie, but hugely popular when I was in college, in junior year, Dead Man on Campus.
Oh, yeah.
And he's the guy who's like, we got some beers, let's drink them. And his name, literally, to every one of my roommates and anyone we knew, that was his name, was oh, we gotta watch this movie. It's the I Got Some Beers, Let's Drink 'Em guy is in it. That was Lachlan Monroe. And like, but that first scary movie, I went and saw it in the theater. First of all, the best part is they take all of Kevin Williamson's dialogue and they use it verbatim. Like, there's no even attempt to change anything. They just do these ridiculous set pieces.
Yes.
But then they insert literal lines from Kevin Williamson's Scream screenplay in the movie to play off their punchlines, and they work like a parody. That's what I love so much about it.
Spoof 5000.
Absolutely.
That movie I watched over and over and over.
I'm really interested in what the movie you were talking about from the 80s was.
Yeah,
It's a movie called Strange Brew.
Oh,
Strange Brew
Rick
is
Moranis.
Bob and Doug McKenzie, the McKenzie brothers from SCTV. It's Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas were the McKenzie brothers. They were the hosers. Like, oh yeah, our moms bought us these boots so we wouldn't start licking on our toes. Yeah. So we're gonna, but what's brilliant about that movie is the movie is, and I shit you not, maybe you know or you don't know, the movie is Hamlet. They are invading Elsinore Brewery, is what they're going through. There's the father that dies, and they're the ones that are going to take over. The whole thing is a riff on Hamlet. And it's them, and Max von Sydow is the evil, he's the Claudius in it that's like going to take over the new brewery. But Strange Brew is one of the weirdest movies. How it ever got made, I'll have no idea. Because the problem with Strange Brew, for most people watching it, is that it is way too highbrow for the majority of it. And then it mixes in the lowbrow that is like literally just every McKenzie Brothers riff or any like tagline that they've had that's been made famous. Like when they're saying hosers or they're saying a boot or they're playing all the Canadian humor. That's the whole other side of it. And somewhere in between is this movie that is, thank you so much. That is like, yeah, I've got a full beer and a 3/4 beer here.
It's in the game.
Like it is absolutely amazing, and it's one of those movies that it's like Big Lebowski. You've got to watch it once sober and take it in, and then when you get drunk, you will appreciate everything that's going on in it even more. Is that a French Bulldog, by the way?
Yeah, we have a French Bulldog in the bar, of course. Anybody who listened to last week's podcast know that my French Bulldog Sully likes to talk a lot.
Nice. FB in the house.
So yeah, Strange Brew is maybe, I gotta be honest, it may be number one on my drinking movie list.
I really need to watch this. You stole it to me.
It's really funny.
It is hysterically funny. Listen, you've got Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, who are ridiculously gifted improvers and sketch comedy guys, and some McKenzie brothers. So you got the whole Canadian thing is just played out as best as it possibly could, and it's set against the backdrop of fucking Hamlet. And they're like, and a lot of Rush, because it's in Canada.
Why wouldn't it?
So you have to have a lot of Rush.
Can't go wrong with Rush.
That was that was way high on my list. Ben has been. What are your movies on here? We haven't actually, other than Brick.
I gotta go pee-pee.
Yeah, I actually am gonna have to as well. Oh, we're gonna pause.
No, we're not gonna pause.
We can't pause. All right, go pee.
You go ahead.
Because I really have to pee too.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I mean, I think this is more funny because then people get to take bathroom
This
breaks
is true.
during the middle of this. If I had to name off movies that... here's the thing. Like I said, I already named movies that, like Brick, where it doesn't involve drinking. It's not about drinking. That I liked that I like to watch when I'm intoxicated. There are a couple of movies and that involve drinking a lot that I love. And one is one that we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, which is Swingers.
Oh, yeah.
Here's one of the things that and it's a strange...
He's talking about Swingers.
It smells like diarrhea in there.
Okay, I'm gonna... It smells like a Del
Well,
woman?
now Greg gets to listen to what I was saying.
Swingers.
Well, yeah, I think that's a great drinking movie.
Goddamn.
Now, beyond Swingers, one of the things that I love about drinking movies, or where there's a lot of drinking happening, I like movies where there's a journey where you're seeing daylight, and it's these people. Because I don't know if you agree with me on this, Greg, but there's this euphoria that comes out, especially like, say you go out and get hammered, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, where can we go? Where can we go to get more booze? And we're like, let's go to somebody's house. And then, but then there's just enough booze where you're not gonna get like completely trashed, but then you're outside talking for 2 hours.
Oh, yes.
And then it becomes 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you're like, well, now they serve beer again at the store. And you go out and you pick up a beer or whatever, and then you're like, let's go to the beach or something along those lines. Let's go watch the sunrise. And those types of nights are, I think, like whenever I think about my best drunk, like the most fun drunk nights I've had my entire life, it's always these nights where there's this journey where at one point we're not able to have alcohol.
Yes.
And instead of getting too drunk and going home and passing out, you have this night that goes into the next day, basically, where
There's an arc.
You're out dancing on a beach. And at this point, you might be almost sober.
Right.
At this point,
Except for you're delirious, which is a different kind of
which is funny because we were talking about last week about Magic Mike. Magic Mike had one of those moments where they were actually doing the same sort of thing.
Olivia Munn
I'm
titties.
so happy we're talking about Magic Mike right now. Just want to say
Wait,
go ahead.
you actually, by the way, Ben, you missed. I'm just back from the bathroom. Hi, this is Matt.
How's the smell in there?
Actually, it smelled like O'Connor's bathroom. I've been in there 1,000
Okay.
times in my life, so it kind of just smelled normal. But
Normal smells like diarrhea, by the way.
Greg and I had an argument on Friday over which is less manly
Perfect.
to have playing on TV, the WNBA
No, set it
or
up,
Magic
set it up
Mike.
correctly. You didn't set it up right.
All
You
right,
didn't set it up right.
I'm sorry.
The scenario is you're hanging out with a bunch of your guy friends at your house in a house party setting, and you turn the TV on, and and what's on is either Magic Mike or what was the
Or
other-
the WNBA.
or a
I didn't forget you had it on your Facebook yesterday.
or the WNBA game. So both scenarios, which scenario are you more likely to immediately change the channel?
WNBA.
I argued the other way.
And you're wrong.
I said that Magic Mike has Olivia Munn naked titties. And
Semi-valid argument.
And it's a Steven Soderbergh movie, and there's going to be, even amongst your sports friends, there's going to be one like Greg that's a movie guy that's like, it's fucking Steven Soderbergh. I would rather watch this than the fucking WNBA because it's going to be an hour and a half of layups, and I have no interest in it.
The first one that I'm going to change is WNBA.
Well, he's changing the.
Oh, no, he's arguing my
he's on
side.
your side.
Yeah,
He's
all
on
right,
your side.
well done.
Okay, all right. So I think watching Magic Mike with a bunch of dudes is gayer than watching the WNBA with a bunch of dudes.
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, really, they're both pretty gay.
Yeah, we didn't really delve into the idea that both of these are really awful.
Right,
And
right.
we're kind of like just saying, would you
It's like,
rather?
are those
It's
your
one of
only
those-
two options?
It's one of those F, Mary, kill
You know
things.
what Ben and I chose was old golf footage
Yes.
from the 1980s.
Classic rounds.
Classic golf
guys.
footage from early 80s, late
So
70s.
Gary Player versus Jack Nicklaus.
Yes.
Anyways, what I was saying is that I like these journey when there are movies that involve drinking. I like it to come all the way through to the next day,
Yes.
where they've reached this almost point of sobriety or semi-sobriety.
Hangover
where
one,
They're
right?
actually doing stuff the following day.
Yes.
And I don't even think that the Hangover, because the Hangover.
come on.
No, I like the Hangover.
All right, go ahead.
But I like. I really like the movie Once, where when they're recording and then they're drunk.
I haven't
and then
seen
they
it,
and
so-
they haven't seen it the following. But anyways, I love movies like Days Confused.
Oh, that's on my list.
Yes.
I meant to bring that up too.
Where
Really
and
good.
like what I saw last night before sunrise, where they're drunk, but it's not. You're ending the movie in almost a semi-sobriety state.
Yes.
Because those are the nights of drunkenness that stand out the most to me. Is where I'm like, I got drunk to a point, and then we maintained this level of drunkenness until the morning, and then we were able to do something in the morning.
I'm amongst friends right now. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, here's just a brief story. Like, this is semi-recent. This is 2010. When Nick Santacroce came back into town and came to do the Gadwell Lane.
Sounds like a great Irish drinking song.
Yes.
The night Nick
Santacroce.
Santacroce came back to
He
town.
came back to town, and we were playing
Oi.
we were playing a reunion show with our old Tallahassee band in Tallahassee. The
Dead
night
Will
that-
Lane. You can find them on
No,
MySpace.
don't even look
Oh, he
up.
doesn't want that.
Don't even look up Dead Will Lane. Anyways,
Not proud.
we spent this night where we played the show and we were drunk, and then we went to a hotel party afterwards, and they ran out of booze, and we were like, then we went outside and we were chain smoking cigarettes, and we were having this great time. We realized it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. No, so what we did is there was one place outside the county lines where we thought they sold
yes.
24 hours.
Love
So we're
that.
like, it's a 30-minute drive. Should we do this? And we were like, yeah, why not? Let's do this. So we drove.
So you mean going to Georgia?
No, well, we didn't drive into Georgia. We drove outside of Leon County.
Outside of Leon County.
We drove west. We drove west on
Interesting.
They went hardcore.
So we went and we got to this gas station at like 5:45 in the morning, and they were like, "No, we don't serve beer until 6:30." I'm like, well, what are you gonna do? We sat outside and talked and smoked and had this great, so much fun. Me and Nick and this other girl, this bitch.
This other girl,
Wow.
in addition to Nick.
That was...
Nick and this other girl.
And this
I
other
just
girl.
want to put that out there.
So
No, you're right for
we
doing
sat out there and we had a really fun time, and then we took pictures with the with the gas station attendant as we were buying our stuff, because we kept on walking in like, "Can we buy yet?" They were like, "No, you got 7 more minutes. Like, we don't want to get arrested for this." So we took pictures, and it was really funny. We went back and we drank by a dumpster. We were drinking like 4 Locos at 6:30 in the morning as the sun's coming up. And I look back on it, I'm like, that was one of the last times, because that happened in college a lot to me, where I would go out with a girl or whatever, and we would have this fun night that then sort of tapered off. Like, we would go somewhere at 3 o'clock in the morning, or we would go to, go for a walk or something along those lines, and then the sun comes back up, and then we're like, oh, how are we going to continue this going on?
Yes. Keep
That's the
good
reason why I
times
love the
rolling.
movies that like Dazed and Confused, like Before Sunrise, the movies that really encapsulate that period of time,
Yes.
where it's after you're drunk, and where it's all the fallout with all the more, but it's not fallout, it's not a hangover, it's, man, that was a great night. And Swingers is one of those movies because like even that the first they go to Vegas. And then they go and they're talking and they're all drinking and it's daylight out, and they have a good time, and then they kind of don't hook up, and then they're driving back and Vince Vaughn's pissing on the side of the road. I love that. I just love that dynamic. Yes, those are the nights that I have always. And I'm at the point in my life where I don't yearn for that anymore. But when I think about the greatest drunk nights I've ever had in my entire life, those are the ones that
Yeah, super nostalgic. I completely agree with you there. Something to add to the swingers thing is the retribution part of those movies is always happens the next day. It's always fuck up. I'm wasted. I fucked up. But then the next day, you get to be reborn, if you will.
And there's that great scene in Swingers, like after the I'm the asshole part where they're in the diner, which I've been a part of that on both sides.
I swear to God.
I've been on both sides of that. I've been the Jon Favreau character just watching this other person, and I've been the asshole that's like, I'm the asshole now, right? Yeah. I've been both of those. And then they have the coffee the next morning where they're hanging out, and it's like everything's come due, and Favreau's like, and what I love in that movie is how like smug Favreau is the next morning. Everyone's been a part of that. When you have these amazing nights, and there's always the one person that's a little less drunk than the other ones, and then you have the next morning, and you have the one that was drunk, it's just like, oh my god, don't talk to me, I'm a fucking mess, and you have the one that wasn't so messed up, that's just sitting there with their cup of coffee across the table from the other one, just judging. And that's all they're doing.
Yes.
It's this smug, just, you poor bastard. If you knew what I knew right now, you'd be master of the universe. Like, that's just how it is. That's why I have 2 movies on my list. And I have to give a very brief shout out when you were talking about your college experiences in Tallahassee. Our place in Gainesville, where most of these moments happen, is a place called Furpose. Furpose had the nickname of, it's Furpose, it's Furpo people. That was their nickname. Furpose, you could go, it was like a Waffle House or a Huddle House, whatever, except way better quality, and it always involved a tray table. You would always order a breakfast dish. There'd be like 3 of you at a booth, and you'd order a breakfast, like each one of you would order a breakfast dish, and so much shit would come out, they would have to put a tray table next to the table for your side order of an entire another fucking breakfast.
Extension.
It was amazing. But the 2 movies I have that fall into your category of what happens after the fun, one of them, I don't have a feeling either of you will give me shit because we're in the same age range, which makes sense. One is Can't Hardly Wait.
I love it.
And no, any male that tells you that they weren't fucking moved by Can't Hardly Wait is lying their ass off to you and trying to get in your pants. That's the fact about it.
Oh, is that what happened?
And the other one I have is one that Ben and I have talked about a couple of times, sort of. And it was one of those that I actually brought to his house. Like, Ben and his wife will invite me over sometimes on a Friday or Saturday night, and we'll decide, like, what kind of movie do we want to watch. So I'll bring over some movies. And one of the ones I brought over last year that I was like, I'm sure you guys have seen it, but what are your thoughts on Go? And Go is a movie for me. Go happened when I was a junior year in college. It hit at the exact right spot. And Go to this date will probably wind up in my top 5 of a lot of lists because I saw it at a specific time where it completely spoke to me.
Yep.
Just about everything in that movie, the trip to Vegas, it's crazy. That's the Hangover before the Hangover, and does it more realistically. And it's Swingers, but it does it more realistically for that generation. It's Doug Liman, same director as Swingers. Right. There are things that happen on and Go, and I love the tone shifts in that movie because they will give you whiplash. Like, they're just all over the place. And you've got everything from fucking first time I was like, Timothy Olyphant is going to be one of my favorite actors, was in that movie, where I was just like, Jesus Christ, this guy is scaring the fuck out of me, but I cannot look away from the scene, and I am dying to know where it goes and what this actor does, like, with that intensity. It's one of those movies, it plays around with it's in that time frame of Pulp Fiction and Memento, where everyone wanted to, we're going to just tell a story out of order, and it's going to make it more interesting, but it actually does it well. And that scene in the diner, after, like, all the crazy shit's happened, the one's, like, been dead in a dumpster pretty much for the night. And it's and they're talking about the family circus. Now, the family circus is the worst waste of time in the Sunday comic strip realm. And that was, like, and I have to add that when I always say, like, what got me interested in filmmaking was Kevin Smith for Clerks and Mallrats, which we were talking about the other day. We were quoting Mallrats at Lion and Eagle the other day. All of Affleck's lines.
For Christ's sake.
That, and then Saving Private Ryan was on the more, like, filmic side of, like, this movie made me uncomfortable and made me feel things. Go sits squarely between the two as a movie that made me interested, entertained, and self-reflective. And it's one of those that I will argue that it's going to be great whether you're high, whether you're drunk, whether you're sober.
I haven't watched Go. I've seen Go once in my entire life.
Jesus Christ.
I barely even remember it.
I've wanted to revisit it at some point, so maybe I think after this.
Next time we do it, we watch Go. Yeah. Well, because the best part about Go is that there are drunk people, there are high people, and there are people on X.
Right.
Like, it really covers all your bases of, like, what are we going to watch fucked up tonight? Anyone that who brought party favors? You got 3 things. We're gonna exemplify each of them.
How are we doing on time?
We're at an hour 7 minutes.
Oh, so we're at the tail end of this.
Almost time to wrap it up.
Getting close.
Almost.
I was hoping that my brother would get here so we could give him a really awkward question to answer.
That would be awesome.
If my brother shows up, we need to ask him what's the weirdest thing he's done with an intern.
All
right.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna put that one
why
out
is
there
their
right
sports coverage so horrible?
That's a strange cock tease because I think he's not going to show up in time. But I think that we have to make sure that we ask him that question when he's on.
Are you looking at this over here right now? She was bent over.
Not
earlier.
pug
It was
love.
pretty amazing.
Pug love. That's all right.
Anyways, so to kind of wrap everything up, because we've talked for a while now about random shit. So we are at O'Connor's, and I know that Matt and I have kind of talked about the O'Connor story, about what led us to being here for this podcast. When I became newly single back.
Do you remember where we were actually sitting? I actually do.
Dude, there's like
Nope.
5 places to sit in here.
We were.
Oh no, the first time.
I was in that chair and you were in that chair.
Okay.
Just to set the scene for everybody listening to this place is about 50 by 50. Or maybe it's 1 out of 5 places you could sit in this bar.
Yeah,
so
it's a small bar.
Big
The thing
thing.
is that when I didn't even know
Point
this
that
bar
out.
existed when I was newly single in 2008.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Dude, just heart. Just heart? Yes.
But
I'm good. Thanks.
well, when I first moved here, I didn't even know that this bar existed, and I was newly single, and I was just walking around one evening, and I walked out my front door basically, and I saw O'Connor's, and I was like, oh great, and, it's my new little local watering hole. Got to know the bartenders, got to know the owners. I am not exaggerating when I found out that in 2 calendar years here, I spent almost $24,000 because I came.
Jesus Christ, that's amazing.
Because the thing was this: I came here every night. I was here because a lot of times I would just bring a book over. And I would sit down and I would drink a pint and I would read. And
There used to be tables over down this side, yeah.
Right.
It's a good way to get
I
pussy.
used to
Bring a book to a
Yeah,
bar.
he's smart.
No, that was accidental. We've already talked about that.
Yeah, we
It
have.
was completely accidental. I would be reading at home, and I'd come here, I'd have a drink, and I would read, and I would leave. Some nights I would read. Some nights I would read until the lines got blurry. I mean, sometimes I would just be like pint after pint after pint. Sometimes I would have 1 beer. Sometimes I would have like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. And so I got to know everybody who worked here. And so the meeting that's been well chronicled at this point between Matt and I through my
Matt and me.
Matt and me.
Sorry.
Through
I had to do that.
my ex my ex fiance was, I didn't realize that Matt liked dirt bars as much as I did, basically, and that this was one of his favorite places as well. So us kind of running into each other on multiple occasions here after we had been introduced to one another led to our initial conversations about Dream Riders and led to everything. I mean,
who picked up who?
Well, no, it's a good question because one of the reasons I was hoping my brother would arrive in time because O'Connor's originally, all right, I used to do theater at the old school square, the Crest Theater. And that was the first time I knew about O'Connor's. Was like we would come here after
That's where the players
rehearsals.
went after.
Yeah, exactly. Well, dude, different.
That's
Most of the
fair.
actors would go home. I was the one that I grew up working on the crew for shows, as well as being in shows and directing stuff. I always loved the crew people. So that was the first question I asked. I was at rehearsal the first night. We went out and I was like, "Where are you guys going?" And they're like, "Well, you're on the other side." I'm like, no. Where are the crew people going? Where is the stage manager? Where's the
where's
lighting designer? Where are you guys going to go and sit and fucking talk about the show and have a good time? And it was O'Connor's. And so my brother, who lives in Pembroke Pines, he and I were, at this point I was actually living up in Jupiter. So we were always looking for in-between points we could meet up and hang out. So I was like, oh, there's this place in Delray that I've been going to it's called O'Connor's. And he's like, well, what are they doing on the weekends? I'm like, pretty sure they're empty. We can go in there and do whatever. So we would sit in exactly those 2 chairs right here on this side of the bar. There was a girl, you know who it is, but I could never remember her name. She's like a mom, a soccer mom. Gorgeous chick.
Drinking at the bar or working at the bar?
Working. She was the bartender on the weekends.
Okay.
She would come in on Saturday afternoons and then go home to her kid at the end of the night. And so my brother and I would come in here, we would drink, and O'Connor's has always been for us historically one of those places where you would run up a tab for 3 hours and your tab would be $46. And then you'd run up a tab for an hour, your tab would be $46. Like, it's one of those where there's just kind of an understanding when they knew you that, like, we're just going to charge you kind of one rate. However much you want to take care of that, you do. And so my brother and I used to come here quite a bit. And then when I moved from Palm Beach Gardens to Delray Beach, like, fuck, I'm right near O'Connor. So I would come in here, I would take any girl that was either trying to bang or was banging or just friends with. We would come out to the dirt bar. We'd sit and chain smoke and drink beers. And the first night I met Ben at his apartment when I was invited by his ex-fiance.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story.
And I was like, dude, you know O'Connor's? And he was like, I live like a block from it. I'm there all the time. I'm like, dude, how would we not run into each other? And then once we knew that, we actually, like, we started to cross paths, and eventually it was kind of that. I don't know if there was any. If you want to ask the question of who picked up whom,
I do.
I gotta say,
It was me.
I was gonna say the other way around, actually. No. Here's how it happened. The first time I saw Ben after I met him, while I was still dating his ex, but also out with other girls.
Chris is here, so we can ask him
It's
a awkward
fantastic.
question.
Well, I was also out with other girls. I came in here and Ben like walked past me one night and just like and went over and like sat and read his book. He had the first night we ever bonded. You had your book because you were just like, fuck it, this is what I do every night. I'm not going to go over and try to impress this mook. And so I was like, hey dude, why don't you come on over? Because the girl I'm with is fucking boring as shit. And I like want to actually talk to someone. That was the first night. I kind of called him over and I was like, "Hey," because it was uncomfortable for me because we had this mutual person that we knew that I didn't want him to know I was out like looking at other women. Even though when it finally came to it, he was just like, "What? Why weren't you doing that earlier?"
So great.
But like there was this whole thing, and I was also to add to the ridiculous homoeroticism of this entire conversation. I was completely intimidated by the fact that you went to film school and you knew so much more about how a movie is shot, which is what I wanted to do. But I was just like, I didn't fucking go to film school. I sat and watched Saving Private Ryan and Go and Mallrats, and I decided I wanted to do movies. Like that's ridiculous. I was hugely intimidated. Yeah, exactly. I was like hugely intimidated, and I will also say the first thing I ever wrote, my awful screenplay for Chiaroscuro, was first discussed at this bar with my brother. I sent him my first draft of the screenplay when I was done. He brought me back notes, which I still have written down in one of my other notebooks of. Here's why I think there are good things in your shit, there are bad things, and it's probably a really bad screenplay, but I don't really know because I work in TV news, so I'm just going to give you kind of positive criticism and tell you it's good.
So to close it out here, what was that strange question you wanted to ask Chris?
Oh yeah,
we were just joined by a prestigious member.
I honestly don't remember. I don't remember where it came up from. Yes. All right. Well, Chris is joining. Chris, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Chris, you may have heard on our other fantastic podcast about guilty pleasures. My question for you is, let me rephrase it so it's not horrible. What is the what is the most you have changed your personality to impress an intern at your work?
Definitely.
They're pretty much impressed by me anyway. So.
End scene.
There's nothing.
I am gonna say there's no way we can end this any better than that. That was fantastic.
I'm pretty much impressive. I'm pretty much the man.
That's great.
All right. Anyway, I want to thank Greg Klein for joining us today, and the folks here at O'Connor's in Delray Beach on the corner of 2nd and 2nd. If you're ever in South Florida and you want a good little pub to go to that is amazing, come on by O'Connor's. Thanks to Chris, who joined us here for the last second and somehow stole the entire podcast with one answer. As always, you can find us on our crazy social media profiles, LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, everything off of the lastpintprod.com. This has been The New Way with Ben and Matt.
I'm Ben.
I am disturbed. And Matt. And we'll talk to you next week. Say it. Bye, Greg.
It's in the game.
Actually, what we do is cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Salute. Cheers. Get a burp.
Don't
Except
spill
for Ben.
beer on the fucking microphone.
All right. We'll see you next time.